through the final banked curve at the Charlotte Roval. Now he goes to the inside. Here comes Jimmie Johnson.
Oh!
Locks the brakes up.
Oh, he's
and he's going to slide. He slides through the middle.
What is a driver willing to do when he hasn't tasted victory in a while? Well, most would probably make the same move Jimmie Johnson made here, but would they have made this move knowing it could possibly eliminate them from the playoffs after surviving one of the craziest races of the season? I'm going to take you guys back to the 2018 Bank of America Roval 400 to show you how we got here. The date is September 30th, 2018. We are on site for a historical race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina. The first ever road course is being introduced into the playoffs, and it's not a configuration that the drivers had run before like Watkins Glen or Sonoma. No, this was an entire different beast of its own. A 17-turn infield road course that was very technical and unforgiving for 109 laps was the driver's test for today. Originally, the layout of the Charlotte Roval was going to have an extra section in the infield with no backstretch chicane, but NASCAR decided to cut out the final portion of the infield section and then add a backstretch chicane to slow speeds. They also added a front stretch chicane in order to create some drama coming to the finish line. This was shaping up to become an instant classic just from the layout alone. The field would come out of NASCAR 4 and head to the restart zone to begin this cutoff race. Kurt Busch and AJ Allmendinger would lead the field to the green flag. The day's events have been put into motion.
To Heartburn Turn, which is turn number 1, side by side. Green flag in the air, we're racing at the Roval.
As previously mentioned, this was a cutoff race for 4 drivers who did not make it into the top 12 out of 16 playoff drivers. Realistically, 2 drivers were going to have to attempt to win in order to advance, and those were Denny Hamlin and Erik Jones, who were both 20-plus points below the cutoff line. The other 2 drivers facing elimination before this race were Jimmie Johnson and Clint Bowyer. All they had to do was gain stage points and have a decent day, and they would advance. Drivers who were above the cutoff line were not so safe either, as realistically 5th through 12th in the standings could be eliminated. Kurt Busch would jump out to a lead early, and we would see our first issue for a playoff driver, as Denny Hamlin would come into pit after thinking he had a tire going down, and it was only lap 6. Kyle Larson would pass Kurt Busch for the lead, and then we would see our first on-track penalty, as Justin Marks would miss the front stretch chicane and have to do a stop and go. During a commercial break, our first crash would occur when Stanton Barrett would crash in turn 1, which was also known as Heartburn Turn. He would lock up his tires and head straight into the wall, ending his day and bringing out the day's first yellow. Under this caution, some playoff drivers would come in and take advantage of getting fresh tires and gas. The field retook the green flag with Kyle Larson still in control of this race, and the rest of the first stage was pretty uneventful. We would see most of the field mellow out and try to get into a rhythm under green flag conditions. Towards the end of the first stage, we would see other drivers coming in pit in an attempt to flip the stage. Kyle Larson would go on to win the first stage, which was important for later, so keep that in mind. We would see the rest of the playoff drivers who stayed out for points pit, and we would see Jimmie Johnson and Clint Bowyer doing exactly what they had to do in order to advance into the round of 12. Stage 2 got underway, and once again Kyle Larson would surge ahead of the field and get out to a comfortable lead. Justin Marks would spin out on his own entering NASCAR 1, which was the original turn 1 of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. During the second stage, we would see drivers attempting to split the stage in pit. Our second big moment for a playoff driver would occur when William Byron would cut a tire, and William Byron is not even the driver, so who am I referring to that is the playoff driver? Well, just wait till you see this timing. Byron would drift up the track, and not being able to turn his car, Aric Almirola would take evasive action not to hit him and clobber the outside wall. The damage looked severe as he did hit the wall pretty hard, but somehow he hit the wall square enough to not sustain heavy damage, and he would pit and be able to go back out on the track. 2 more playoff drivers would have issues when Martin Truex Jr. and Brad Keselowski would miss the front stretch chicane and spin out. Both drivers would do a stop and go for this. Ryan Blaney would go on to win the second stage, and Jimmie Johnson once again would continue to gain points as he would finish second in the second stage. The final stage got underway with Kyle Larson and Daniel Hemrick leading the field to the restart. Larson would once again jump out to a lead on the field, and most of the playoff drivers started to settle in and ride around, trying to preserve the points that they had or attempt to make something happen to advance. Austin Dillon would tag the wall and bring out the caution, and then following the next restart, he would slam the wall again, this time ending his day and once again bringing out another caution. On the next restart, we would see another incident for a playoff driver, and once again it was Aric Almirola. He would spin out in the infield section and not hit anyone, and he was able to continue on. Chris Buescher would hit the inside barrier and take an opportunity to advertise for Echo Park, as the sign would stick to his bumper and he would drag it around the track. The crazy part about Almirola was he had come into this race above the cutoff line and just needed to finish the race without incident and he'd advance, but now he was in danger of being eliminated. Kyle Larson would come into pit, surrendering the lead, and on the next restart, we had new players at the front of the field in Paul Menard and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Denny Hamlin also stayed out to try to gain some track position, as he was in a must-win at this point. A lap after the restart, we would see another driver have a problem, with Eric Jones cutting a tire and spinning out. No caution would come out and he'd continue to pit road. Brad Keselowski would grab the lead from Paul Menard and then drive away from the rest of the field, showing that he had a dominant car late in this race that could contend for the win. A handful of laps later, Kyle Larson would reel in the two of Brad Keselowski and begin to put the pressure on him. They would have an awesome battle for a few laps, but Keselowski would hold him off and look like he was going to drive to the win in the inaugural Roval race. That is until Ricky Stenhouse Jr. would do what he does best and crash in turn 1, setting up what we all know as one of the craziest restarts in NASCAR history. Let's take a look and listen to the raw broadcast for this one.
Side, back up through the gears they go. A little shove from Martin Truex Jr. And too hard through one. Keselowski, Larson both into the wall. They pile up in the Tums heartburn turn. Caution coming out again.
Worn tires and late braking caused the two leaders to miss the corner and send their cars into the wall, and with the two rows behind judging off the leaders, they also piled into the wreck as well, and this took out several playoff drivers and red flagged the race for cleanup. The only driver who was truly in danger of being eliminated from this crash was Kyle Larson. Yes, that's right, the driver who dominated this race was now in danger of being eliminated. As the cars would sit on the backstretch under red, we would see all the carnage this race had caused, and the field looked like it was a demo derby. Somehow the 42 team would fix their car just enough to roll around at minimum speed, to the point they needed a miracle. The race restarted, and now we have Martin Truex Jr. and wait, Jimmie Johnson in contention to win this race. Another important thing to note is the 10 of Aric Almirola was now flirting with eliminating Kyle Larson if he can gain enough spots. Jimmie Johnson was now comfortably above the cutoff line, and following the restart, many assumed he'd run second, as Truex would just drive away. Well, Jimmie kinda just stayed there, and for the next 2 laps, he would never let Truex get away from his grasp. Coming into the final lap, we saw Aric Almirola needing 1 spot to advance, and we had a 2-car breakaway with the 78 and the 48 battling for the win. So how does this story end? Well, let's get back to how this video started and take a look.
He's going to have to come out of this chicane, turn 12. He's going to have to come out of there on the back bumper of that 78 to make a move in the braking zone of 16 and 17.
Yeah, so 48's only 7 points to the good, so he may not can afford it, but
look, he's there. What a great corner.
Here they come through the final banked curve at Charlotte Roval. Now he goes to the inside. Here comes Jimmie Johnson.
Oh!
Locks the brakes up.
Oh, he's
and he's going to slide. He slides through the middle. Truex gets tagged. Now it'll be a fight for the finish line. Ryan Blaney in the 12 will win.
He stopped. He came to a full stop to make sure that he was good with NASCAR. Where's he going to finish? It's showing 1 point to the good.
And just like that, we go through the emotional spectrum as we saw Jimmie Johnson attempt to win for the first time in over 50 races, and he would lock up his brakes and crash out himself and the 78. But wait, that's not even the craziest part. Johnson would refire and finish, being 1 point above the cutoff line, but coming to the finish, Jeffrey Earnhardt would spin out and would not be able to refire his car. And guess who so happened to be coming around the corner at full steam? That's right, the 42 of Kyle Larson bounces off the wall and passes him to gain the 1 spot on Jimmie Johnson. And just so you understand how crazy this was to watch live, I'm going to show you what my initial reaction was when I saw this happen.
Corner. Here they come.
Oh my God. No way. Come on. Push, push. Push, push. No. No way! Unbelievable! Whoa!
He came to a full stop.
So now we have a three-way tie for the final spot, and unfortunately for Jimmie Johnson, he would be the one to miss out, as he didn't have the best finish of the three in that round, and that was the tiebreaker. Wait a minute, we haven't even mentioned the race winner. Ryan Blaney sneaks through and survives a chaotic inaugural Roval race to win and get his second career win. Well, one thing's for sure with this race, it lived up to the hype, and it definitely created excitement in the playoffs for being a wild card track other than Talladega. So what did you think of the first Roval race at Charlotte? Did you enjoy it or not? And if you were in Jimmie Johnson's shoes, would you have gone for the win or attempted to just finish second to make it into the next round? Let me know in the comments, and as always, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.